Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar called Insurance Considerations for Drone Pilots. And today we're featuring a few special guests. We have Chris Proudlove from Global Aerospace, and he is the SVP of Underwriting and an executive at Global Aerospace. And also Jay Bregman, who's the CEO and founder of Verifly. My name is Abby Speicher, and I'm the CEO and founder of DARTdrones. We are really excited today to give you an education on what you need to know about drone insurance and how both of these two gentlemen are out there trying to make it easier for you to make sure that you're covered with your drone. The drone industry is taking off, literally, with the expected economic impact of the integration of drones with more than $82 billion and is supposed to create over 100,000 jobs by 2025. We're really excited about what's happening in drones, but there's a lot of questions out there, and it's hard to find answers. So we're hoping that our webinar series will be able to give you some more clear answers on your biggest questions about becoming a drone pilot. And one of the biggest ones is risk, and risk comes down a lot to drone insurance. There's a lot of factors that can lead to a crash with your drone, whether it be unpredictable weather, inexperienced drone pilots near you, interference from a radio tower, or even your drone malfunctioning. There's a lot that you need to know about how to cover yourself and to make sure that if your drone does crash and God forbid hit somebody, how are you covered and what's going to be the next step for you as a drone pilot. I'd like to introduce you to Chris Proudlove of Global Aerospace, who's going to talk to us now about how Global Aerospace is providing solutions for drone pilots and exactly what you need to know about drone insurance. Chris, I'll pass it off to you. Thank you very much.
Hi, Abby. Thanks very much indeed. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. It's a great pleasure to join you today for this webinar. I work for a company called Global Aerospace. We are one of the leading providers of aviation insurance around the world today. We are headquartered in London with offices in the US, Canada, and various countries in Europe as well. And we have a lot of experience with insuring aviation and aviators. We've been insuring product liability, airliners, general aviation aircraft, really all manner of the aviation industry for coming up on 100 years now. And we've been a big player in the drone business in the commercial space for about 4 years now. So really since the very birth of the commercial drone industry in the US, we have been providing products and services to drone operators. Before I get into the coverage, I think it's worth just going back. I don't think you need to go back to the slide, Abby, but just in terms of claims, to put this whole insurance piece into perspective, at this point in time, we have paid over 350 individual claims for accidental damage to drones, payloads, ground equipment. We've had a few third-party liability claims. I'm happy to say not too many, but those claims do happen as well. So when you think about your options for buying insurance, I can tell you, from first hand that we have had lots and lots of clients who have found great value in having a professional insurance policy. Really what underpins the vast majority of those claims is in some shape or form user error. There may be some some malfunction from the system as part of that, or other factors at play, but in some shape or form user error is generally a part of every single accident. And we partnered with DARTdrones at the end of last year to help bring our customers the very best training that is out there. And I think most of the people on the call today have been through DARTdrones training, and you certainly appreciate what I'm talking about. That hands-on training really does help provide operators with a much higher level of proficiency. So as you're going out tendering for jobs, talking to potential customers, don't forget to play up the fact that you have DARTdrones training and that you have achieved what I think is a higher level of professionalism and safety than the vast majority of your peers in the commercial industry today. Okay, so just at a high level, what are we talking about as far as insurance is concerned? Am I covered if I crash? Am I covered if my drone is stolen? If I get caught in a rainstorm? The answer to those first three questions is a resounding yes. Coverage is there so long as you select the option of purchasing physical damage coverage. That is basically damage sustained to equipment that you own. So as long as you're insuring that equipment, all those items are covered. It's an all-risk policy that we provide. It's a broad policy form. It contains relatively few exclusions. Some things that you might ordinarily find in other insurance policies are not present in aviation policies. They're rather different to other types of insurance. The coverage is worldwide. So as far as we are concerned in the US, you would need to be a US resident. You would need to have a permanent address in the US, but the coverage is worldwide. So if your business takes you to any part of the globe, you would be covered under that policy. And the coverage term, it really, there are two options, two distinct options. Through Global Aerospace or other insurance carriers like us, you would purchase an annual policy of insurance, which covers your equipment and liability for a full policy year. Or the other option, which Jay Bregman is going to discuss in more detail during his part of the presentation, is an on-demand type of insurance where you only purchase the insurance for a specific period of time. I'm going to be focusing on the annual stuff. Jay will pick up the on-demand piece of it later. As far as the deductible is concerned, for physical damage claims, these are the equipment damage. Typically, it's the first 5% of the value of any equipment would be held by the insured and not by the insurance company. You may have seen that there are warranty programs, or some manufacturers market some type of insurance policies. When you buy your drone, you get the opportunity to buy that type of policy. And it's similar to buying a new washing machine, and you get the option for a extended warranty, extended parts warranty or something. It's that type of opportunity that you have sometimes from manufacturers and distributors when you buy a new drone. But the coverage that they provide is distinctly different to an insurance policy. We cover, as part of an insurance policy, we cover all forms of accidental damage. So for any reason the drone crashes, or you lose your drone, or it's stolen, then that is covered, as long as it is an accident, essentially. The warranty policies do have an element of benefit over what we provide, because there is that element of warranty. If simply the drone fails to work, not as a result of a crash or any other kind of incident, but it just the drone doesn't turn on one morning, then you probably have a warranty claim. But I would certainly caution against assuming that policy covers you for all types of accidental damage. Some of them claim to, but be very careful to read the fine print, because I've seen some of those deals that exclude damage due to pilot error, for example. And going back to my earlier comment about the fact that in some shape or form there's generally an element of user error in every accident that we have seen, that could significantly reduce your ability to make a claim under that policy. So I'd be cautious around those types of warranty programs, and as I say, just check the fine print to make sure that you know exactly what you are purchasing. Why buy insurance? I mean, I think there are a lot of very good reasons why you should. If I could perhaps look at the second bullet point here first, which is the potential risk to damage from property. I mean, that's the main reason why you are buying insurance. You have all invested money in your businesses, whether it's purchasing the drone, setting up a website, taking your DART drone training, whatever it is, you have invested time and money in your business, and if you were to suffer an unfortunate accident where the drone, I guess in the best case, caused property damage, or in the worst case, if it actually hit someone and caused physical injury, then you can be very certain of the fact that the plaintiff lawyers who are circling the industry, waiting for accidents to happen, will pounce, and you'll find that the aviation business in general is one where no one's afraid to file lawsuits, and you will find that your record of your entire flying record, and the fact that on one occasion you might have broken through 400 feet, all of a sudden you'll be painted as a reckless pilot, and really the sky's the limit in terms of what you might be sued for. So that's the primary reason why you buy insurance. Not only do you get the coverage and the physical and the financial payout that the insurance company makes on your behalf, but we also provide defense. We will pay for the cost of defending you against that type of claim scenario. So, long and the short of it, that's the main reason why you buy it. That coverage is provided both on annual policies and on short-term on-demand policies. So that is really the key value to this product. There are some commercial general liability policies that have some element of limited right-back coverage for unmanned aircraft. So if you are a business owner, you have a commercial general liability policy. In the first instance, it has an aircraft exclusion in it. But you may have found that your insurance carrier is one of the few that is providing this limited right-back endorsement. Again, just be sure that any of the exclusions in the policy don't negate that coverage. So things like illegal acts, or many others, you might find that a lot of the coverage that you're anticipating you're buying isn't actually there because of the other exclusions in that policy. Drone pilots operating without insurance could be liable for property damage. Yeah, I mean, that's really the key to it. It's a question of your financial risk. And finally on this list, and don't underestimate this, we have seen more and more the value of insurance go up, because as the drone industry matures and companies are more used to hiring drone service providers, they are expecting more. They're expecting their drone operators to turn up, clean, tidy, presentable, but they're also asking for insurance policies. They want to see evidence of insurance, very often with specific language in the insurance policy to make sure that that their own interests are fully protected. But I think it really also helps if you're bidding on a project or bidding for work, and as part of your proposal, you say, I'm fully insured. I carry $1 million, or I carry $5 million of insurance. I think that sets the bar higher. I think that adds a lot of value to your proposition. So don't be afraid to talk about insurance. And as it becomes a more accepted part of any type of drone contract, you'll have it, you'll know what you're talking about, and I think that'll put you in a good position. You don't necessarily have to have an annual policy of insurance. I think just being a member of the Verifly network, if you can demonstrate that you have purchased a lot of Verifly policies in the past, you may not have a valid policy with them, but you can pre-book, you can show them how it works. All of that really helps to add additional value to your proposition. So types of insurance. Generally speaking, we are looking at two distinct areas of insurance. The first, which we've talked about already, is hull insurance, and that's really jargon for first-party damage to property that you own. So your drone, your payload, all that type of equipment, that can be covered as damage to that. So, we found more and more often that the value of, LiDAR systems, the value of cameras is exceeding the value of the drone itself. So you might find that while you don't wish to insure your $1,500 Phantom, all of a sudden you're renting a $5,000 camera or even a $50,000 LiDAR camera, and you need to buy insurance for that. So that's all covered. You can find ways through our online system, through our policy form, to ensure that non-owned coverage, which is basically damage to property that you use for a period of 30 days or less, but that you do not own. And that coverage can be provided on a blanket basis in your policy, so that you don't have to refer to your broker every single time you go and rent a camera. That coverage is there. It's there for the duration of the policy, and it protects you in the event that you hire equipment or borrow equipment. And then the liability side of things, again, we've touched on this. This is the risk of you causing property damage or bodily injury arising out of the operation of the drone. But there are many additional coverage items to be found under the liability section in your policy, and these include things like invasion of privacy. So if you publish an image on the internet, or there was a case in Australia where a real estate broker put a picture of a property that they were selling on a billboard, and there happened to be somebody sunbathing in the garden next door, and that was on the billboard as well. You can insure against that. Typically, that is included in our policy. At least it's actually part of the policy, and there's no premium charge for it. That's also the case with Verifly as well. Premises liability is included, which is essentially if I can give you an example, if you are doing a shoot and you have your drone case on the ground and somebody trips over the drone case and hurts their head or breaks an arm or something, you will be covered under the premises liability part of your policy. There's medical expenses, there's product liability arising out of aircraft that you have sold. There's a whole range of additional coverage items that fall under that liability section of the policy. It generally does account for the higher part of the premium in the policy. Depending on the value of your equipment or depending on the limit of liability that you're purchasing, typically the liability is the higher premium number. And I can talk about premiums in a second, in a couple of slides time. So how does it work? What I want to try to do here is to break the insurance business down and make it simple and easy to understand, because I know at times insurance can seem like a tough business to try to navigate, and certainly in the drone space right now there is competition. There are a lot of companies that are selling a lot of different products, whether it's your warranty coverage from the manufacturer, or right backs to commercial general liability policies. I mean, there are a lot of people that are trying to sell drone insurance in a number of different ways. We recommend working with an aviation specialist. You guys are all in the aviation business. Like it or not, you're aviators. You passed your remote pilot airman certificate. The operations you're flying are regulated by the FAA. What you really need is a specialist aviation insurance policy. To access Global Aerospace or another company like us, the first thing you have to do is to contact a broker. The brokers act as intermediary between the insured, you, and the insurer. They will provide advice to you on the type of limit of liability you should buy. They'll answer your questions about coverage. They will be your first point of contact for questions that you have, and they'll help you navigate the process. We've tried to make the process as easy as possible. We built an online quote portal, which is now used by about 30 or 40 brokers around the country. And it's basically a really easy way for drone operators to buy insurance. So if a quick web search for Global Aerospace portal, you'll probably come up with a drone portal. You'll probably come up with a few options, or you can contact me and I'd be very happy to make a recommendation for a broker in your area who would be able to help you buy the insurance. But once you're in the portal, it's a very simple system of just checking through. We ask very few questions. You get your quote immediately. You can bind, pay online, and you get your policy delivered by email straight away. In addition to the policy, you will also get an email from us with 3 safety documents. They are a guide to emergency response, a best practice guide around invasion of privacy, and last but not least, an expanded flight checklist, which was produced for us exclusively by DARTdrones. So you get all those delivered to you as soon as you purchase the policy. But if you guys have any questions about how to go through the process, you can reach out to me directly. And then finally, for this part of the presentation, a few just last minute thoughts, a few things to consider about buying the insurance. As far as the physical damage is concerned for the equipment you own, how valuable is it? You know, if losing a $1,500 drone or a $2,000 camera is no big deal, you want to save the premium dollars because you can afford to go out and buy a new system, then liability only may well be the best option for you. If you prefer to pay as you go, if you prefer to to be able to account for each individual expense, if that's a good way for you to pass the cost of insurance on to the companies you're working for, then maybe an annual policy isn't the right way to buy insurance. You're probably better off going the on-demand route. What kind of budget are you looking at? I mean, we can insure liability. The standard is $1 million. A lot of companies buy 2, 5, but increasingly, industries like the motion picture industry, energy companies, and others are starting to demand higher and higher limits. So if you're asked to provide $10 million for a contract, we can easily provide that type of limit. We have some clients that buy over $50 million worth of coverage. That may be a little high depending on the type of jobs that you're doing, but certainly if you can budget for a higher limit, it's certainly worth thinking about that. And yeah, just buy the limit you need for your contract, and we look forward to working with you. So I think that concludes my part of the presentation. Abby, are you going to take it back?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. And Chris is the real deal in aviation insurance, and has his company works not only in just drones, but also obviously in manned aviation. And we're really excited about our partnership with Global Aerospace in the SM4 program. And there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out of our partnership and in that program. And one of the coolest things is about Global Aerospace is that they've partnered with this very innovative company, Verifly, which gives the ability for someone who's just getting into drones and wants insurance and maybe doesn't know if they need a full annual policy. It gives them the opportunity to really do a shorter on-demand insurance policy, which is really cool. So I will introduce you to Jay Bregman, the CEO and founder of Verifly, and he's also a DARTdrones alumni from 2015, which is sort of crazy that he's one of our first students, I think. So we are especially excited to have Jay here. And at the end of this webinar, we would love to answer any questions that you guys have, and you could just submit those on the chat, and I will relay them back to Jay and Chris. So now off to Jay. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Abby. I really appreciate that. And thanks so much for helping me catch the bug that eventually would lead to the founding of Verifly. So just a little bit about what Verifly does. So Verifly, it provides up to $10 million of drone insurance in 30 seconds on your smartphone. That was what we set out to do. All of our policies are backed by Global Aerospace, who you've just heard is one of the most prestigious companies in the world in this space. And so what you get is a policy that is between 1 hour and 8 hours, depending on how long you need the coverage for. It's for a particular area, anywhere up to 2 miles. And basically, the price is relative to where you are actually purchasing the coverage. So if you're purchasing next to an airport, it's more expensive than, say, if you're in a field and there's nothing around you. So we also offer up to $10 million. So we offer and everything in between $1 and $10 million. And the reason that people use us is because most people that we find in the drone industry that are commercial pilots buy insurance because their clients ask them to buy insurance. And it's not every client that asks them. And of course, they don't have clients that they're doing business for all the time. So it doesn't pay for them to get an annual insurance policy. It's just another cost that basically they have to carry around and then hope that they get enough work to cover it. Whereas with Verifly, you only pay as you get paid. You can pre-book insurance up to, I think, 3 months in advance now. So basically, if you get a job, you can actually purchase the insurance and send the certificate to the client ahead of time, and basically, and have them approve it. What a lot of people do in addition to that is once you've registered, you get a membership certificate. You can purchase policies at any time. You put in your credit card. You then can present to clients in your, in your marketing that you have up to $10 million in insurance. But the great thing is you don't have to pay for that insurance when you're not using it. You can just pay for it when you actually have a client that demands anything between $1 and $10 million worth of insurance. So it's a lot more efficient system. The number one thing that we get asked by our clients is, can we use your logo in our marketing material? As a result of this, Verifly is, I think, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, drone insurance platforms in the world, but certainly in the United States. So over 20% of the nearly 70,000 commercial drone pilots in the US are registered on Verifly. We were a Jeopardy question. It's actually a Jeopardy answer, I suppose, in a drone category just a few weeks ago. Yeah, and we really love to do business with you and eventually answer your questions. So just a couple more things from the slide. Verifly is unique in that it basically provides both recreational and commercial use. So if you happen to be doing recreational flights, you want to cover those, that's absolutely no problem. And yeah, really, it's just as simple as choosing an area on your smartphone. We work with both Android and iOS. You'll see the price there. If you're happy with that, you tap Get Insured. You have your credit card stored in there. You can choose any options that you want. In this particular example, they've got $1 million policy, a quarter-mile radius, and an hour. You can see a satellite photo if you want, so you get exactly the correct area that your client wants. And then that's it. You purchase, you get a certificate both in the app and via email. You can send that to your client. You can keep that for your own records. It's a certificate that is pretty much the exact same a certificate that you would get with a global annual policy. And then you're really ready to go. And you can qualify for any type of client that is requesting up to $10 million of insurance. And that could be a municipality like a Film LA, if you want to do business anywhere in the city of LA. It could be any kind of corporation. We do business with virtually every major media company, every major real estate company, et cetera. So we think this is something that you should really have in your toolkit to give your business a real advantage. So just a little bit more about the options. And these options have all evolved based on what our clients want and therefore what their clients want out there in the marketplace. So we offer a flexible system in terms of both area, amount of time, the limit, the weight of the drone. So if you want to fly a heavier drone or a lighter drone. Another important thing to note, so with an annual policy, your policy will be scheduled to a particular drone. And if you want to add another drone, you'll have to pay more money or you have to swap them around and it's kind of a pain. With Verifly, it's any drone that meets these weight limits. So basically, if you buy an 8-hour policy and you say up to 15 pounds, you can buy any drone under 15 pounds as long as you're only flying one at a time. We also now support indoor flight because a lot of our real estate clients are doing indoor flight in addition to outdoor flight. No problem, just do it for a small fee. You then get access to indoor coverage as well. Or if you want to combine that with an outdoor and indoor flight in that time period, you can do that as well. And now you can even do racing. So any type of racing or contest, drone racing league, that sort of thing, just with a tap, you can basically select that your coverage includes that. And your coverage can either start immediately, and we mean immediately right as you tap that, or you can pre-book it for the future. So basically you can schedule your coverage for some time in the future. And this is probably becoming the most common way of using Verifly, because basically what will happen is the client will know exactly when the job is and exactly where the job is. And you'll purchase the policy in advance, and then you simply show up on site with the policy that you've already purchased, and you're good to go. And yes, it covers all flights up to 400 feet, which is kind of standard. We don't see a lot outside of that. So one of the concepts that we haven't talked about yet are additional insureds. And as you guys get into your business and start dealing with clients who require insurance, which is almost anybody good, you will deal with additional insureds. And additional insureds basically are where your client requests to be added to your insurance policy to have certain additional insured rights. And among those rights is the ability to file a claim. So they want to make sure that basically not only do you have a policy, but they have the ability to file a claim on your behalf if something happens to them because of your actions. So we have a brand new system for doing this. We offer up to 5 additional insureds at no charge that you can put in pretty much as large, as much text as you want. And basically, this allows you to do even the most complex, jobs. Yeah. So look, I mean, I think the main takeaway that we have from dealing with the tens of thousands of customers and tens of thousands of policies that we've arranged over the past year, is really how much insurance is a requirement for a successful drone business. However, what we've also recognized is how inconsistent and unpredictable, like any business, work can be in the drone market. So, all of that really says that an on-demand solution is the one for you, particularly as you're starting out on your business. So happy to answer any questions, and thank you guys all for coming.
Great. Thank you so much, Jay. And wow, that Verifly app has really progressed a lot. There's so much new stuff in there that I hadn't realized is available. That's really cool. So just to wrap up, we are focused on helping drone pilots get started in using drones and starting drone programs for both companies and government agencies. And there's a lot that goes into it beyond just being safe and knowing what insurance is right for you. Training is huge, obviously. There's a lot to know about drones. There's so much that's just in the minds of experts, and it isn't really out there and widely available yet. So we do recommend that you always have a pre-flight checklist and that you're able to go through the steps and make sure you don't miss anything important, as well as recording all of your flights in case someone does come back and say that there was some sort of incident. You have that all on record. We also recommend creating a standard operating procedures manual and some protocols for yourself and for your company to know when you are pushing the limits and when you're really within a safe mission. So those are our recommendations for how you guys can progress as drone pilots and continue to be safe. And we will continue to have these webinars and bring in experts like Jay and Chris to speak about their area of expertise and help everybody continue to progress and keep the industry progressing. So I want to thank Chris and Jay so much for joining us and for sharing their expertise. That was great. I learned a lot in it. I can't believe you were on Jeopardy. That's awesome, Jay. I want to be on there. So thank you, and we'll open it up now for questions. If you want to submit a question in chat, that would be great, and we could answer any questions that you have. Okay, so I do see one question here about everyone wants the Jeopardy link, that's what everyone's saying. But also, Jay, they had a question about why it wouldn't work in New York. Why would Verifly not work in New York?
Yeah, that's a very common question. So Verifly is active in 48 states. The 2 states it's not active is in North Dakota, and it will be in 2019. There was just the insurance industry sometimes moves and regulations move quite slowly. And in New York, we also hope to have Verifly active this year. What people have to understand, a lot of people that are not from the insurance industry don't understand, is when you come out with a brand new type of insurance policy, and in order to actually empower this hour by hour, minute by minute coverage. We had to work with Global to do just that, to do a brand new insurance policy that actually has to be approved in advance by most of the states, and every state gets a crack at approving it in their particular state. And New York, like many other things in the world, with regard to to doing business in New York, it has a more deliberate process than a lot of other places. But yeah, we're optimistic that they will join the party sometime this year.
Great, thanks, Jay. And now we have a question for Chris. And the question was about, is it possible to have a policy without right infringements? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure what the questioner is really trying to get to at that there. So I wonder if we could take a different question, and perhaps the questioner can provide a little bit more detail about what they're looking for.
Sure, absolutely. So let's see. One of the questions is, okay, Jay, someone's wondering if your policy includes legal defense.
So my understanding is yes, the policy does include legal defense for when it responds.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's correct. The for all the policies that we issue, whether they are annual policies or through Verifly, the legal defense costs are all outside of the limit of liability. With a lot of types of insurance policy, you buy $1 million of coverage, and once you've paid your lawyers $1 million, you've got nothing left to pay the claim. For all our policies, the expenses are outside of the limit, so we will defend your claim and still have that $1 million or $5 million of coverage in indemnity left to pay any potential claimants.
Okay, great. Another question we have are, what are the normal exclusions in the drone aviation liability coverage, such as territory operated in, so like near airports, or maybe certain activities, such as if they're flying into near certain property? What is the exclusions for the drone aviation liability coverage?
Chris is probably better at this one than I am.
Sure. No, happy to take that, Jay. Yeah, so really the exclusions for those types of things are very, very few and far between. And if I can sort of take some of those examples, like I said earlier in the presentation, the coverage that we provide is worldwide, and that isn't worldwide excluding certain airports or excluding state parks or excluding anything. It's all that, it really is a worldwide policy of insurance. So we don't rely on regulations to determine how our policies respond. Of course, we hope and anticipate that our customers will be operating legally, but let's say you're the risk manager for a reasonably large company, and one of your drone operators happens to take a company drone at the weekend and fly in the Grand Canyon. And whilst he's flying in the Grand Canyon, which you're not allowed to do, has an accident and hits somebody, that would still be covered. We don't exclude coverage because the flight was being conducted in a place where where it shouldn't have been. So there's no exclusion for illegal acts. There's no exclusions around operating near airports. You bust through 400 feet, you're still covered. But we do, as part of the underwriting process, we try to understand what how the operator is approaching their business. So we will ask questions about whether the insured intends to operate within the guidelines of the FAA, whether they intend to deliberately operate over people, and assuming that the answers to those questions are given in such a way that it allows us to go ahead and provide a quote, then the policy that we issued that we then issue is very, very broad. It is not designed to trip people up. It's not designed to be full of small print. It's a broad policy form.
Great, thank you very much, Chris. So we had two ideas for you, Jay, and wondering if this will be coming out anytime soon for Verifly. One was, is there a possibility that someday, instead of having it be a radius or circle that they're insured for, could it be something like a corridor area, for example, a golf course? And the second question is, or idea is, does Verifly do whole insurance right now, or is that something that will be coming out eventually?
So we don't right now. We've looked at it. The issue with it, to be honest, is that you're never going to get a client job because of hull insurance. The clients do not care whether you have your own equipment insured. Frankly, the average value of the equipment insured by most of our clients is, it's a couple of $1,000s, which is not, very cheap, but it's nothing compared to $1 million. And the third thing is, once you start getting into what's called first party damage, it starts to become a lot more expensive per unit of time. So we have not yet found the formula to make that work, but we are always kind of investigating if there is a way to do that, certainly in an on-demand way, or maybe even if we offered some longer term policies.
Okay, great. All right, so I have two final questions. Go ahead.
Oh, and do you want me to answer the golf course question?
Sure.
So we get the golf course question a lot, and actually, the answer is we do actually have the technical capability, or the regulatory capability to draw polygons, but the interface for that becomes really, really challenging. So what we have in the meantime is we just added the ability for you to purchase multiple circles at the same time. So basically, you could purchase like the north side of the course in a circular area, and then overlapping that the south side of the course. And that seems to work okay, though we know that we can do better.
Interesting, cool. Okay, great. So our second to last question is, are there any different types of insurance packages specifically for fire departments? And they're asking for fire scenes or search and rescue. And what does a fire department need to know about insurance?
Well, I'll tell you that I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Chris.
Jay, go on.
Chris, I know that there's quite a few search and rescue teams that use Verifly, but Chris, you can give probably a better technical answer.
No, I mean, I was going to give a very simple answer, which is I think that the opportunities for buying insurance, the reasons why they would buy insurance, the types of insurance they would buy are exactly the same as that of any commercial operator. I guess the only difference is that they may be operating under a different set of rules, but basically the needs, requirements, and types of products available would be exactly the same, and they can access that, whether it's through Verifly or through one of our drone portals. They would access it, purchase it, and pay for it in exactly the same way as if they were a commercial operator.
Great. Okay, great. And then our final question that we'll go over today is someone would like to present a scenario. So, for example, if they were on an assignment for a commercial real estate company and his $1,500 drone flies away and damages a portion of a building that he's capturing a video of, and it ends up causing $200,000 in total property damages, including his drone. Can you advise this group on how this would sort of play out for both the drone pilot as well as the client when they're filing a claim? And in other words, what's the basic claims process for a scenario like this?
I'll let Chris take this one.
Yep, sure. I was just trying to find my unmute button. The process for claims, whether you're purchasing through Verifly or purchasing your policy on an annual basis, is exactly the same. In your policy documentation, in the FAQs on either our website or on Verifly website, there is contact information for who to contact in the event of a claim. You should definitely contact the insurance carrier as soon as you are aware of any potential claim, even if let's say there's damage to your equipment, but you don't insure it. It's only the potential for third-party damage. Even if you don't know whether there's a possibility, well, I may have damaged the window, but I may not have done. The best thing to do in that instance is to put us on notice, because it's much easier to respond to claims early. The worst thing is for a claim to be advised after 30 days or something, and all of a sudden we're trying to piece it together. Repairs might have been made already, and it just becomes much harder and potentially much more expensive to manage a claim in that type of situation. But let's say that the drone did fly away. Let's say it went through 400 feet and it ended up damaging property on an airport. The coverage would be available. The coverage would respond. The policy would respond to any damage caused by the drone on a third-party basis. And if you purchase the physical damage coverage for your own equipment, then we would pay to either repair or replace the damaged drone. I hope that answers the question.
And yeah, the thing I'll just add to that is, although Verifly is geographically based in terms of you're choosing an area generally in which to purchase coverage, if your drone has a flyaway and causes damage or injury outside the coverage area, the coverage will respond.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much. Jay and Chris, it was so great to have both of you, and an honor to have you and to teach some of our students what they need to know about insurance. We will be sharing the slide deck as well as a copy of the webinar. We'll email that out to you either today or tomorrow so you have it. And then we encourage all of you to go and check out Verifly and Global Aerospace. They're doing some great things. That's who DARTdrones is insured through. And we hope that this was helpful and answered a lot of your questions about drone insurance. Everybody have a great day. Thank you very much.